Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again in today's workshop on the topic ORCID, Google Scholar, and more, which will be facilitated by Debbie Martindale, who is a principal librarian of digital scholarship. So thank you so much, Debbie, for agreeing to do this workshop with us and for us. I wish everyone to be able to engage freely, to ask questions, and also for this workshop to move swiftly. The other good news is that in terms of being assisted with ORCID, the library will have a setup at our upcoming conference, which is taking place on the 1st and the 2nd of September here in Makanda, where we will be having global scholars and researchers, national scholars and researchers presenting their work, as well as engaging in research titled Crossing the Borders of Knowledge Post-COVID-19. We're looking forward to seeing a lot of you joining us. So thank you very much. Just before moving on to Debbie to facilitate this process, just a few housekeeping. One, for the fact that I'll be posting an evaluation link on the chats. We would really appreciate if you would evaluate this session for us. This assists us in order to understand what more are researchers and scholars, as well as supervisors, looking for when it comes to support and research support, but also for us to understand what we can do better in terms of our workshops. So please do assign in that evaluation. I will also send out a link to the registration of the conference that is taking place next week, Thursday and Friday. We're still open for registrations, but we are unfortunately not open for abstracts. So please do go and sign if you are attending, as we are having limited seats and we have already started doing name tags for those that are registered, and also to understand how many people we have in terms of catering, etc. Well, outside of the housekeeping, I think it is now time to hand over to Debbie. Is Debbie still with us? Okay, so it seems like there's a connection problem with Debbie, but I'll just check on Debbie. Please give me just a minute to check on Debbie. And then also, as we are still waiting for other people to log in. So welcome everybody. Debbie, can you hear me?
Hi, sorry, my can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Yes,
I can hear you quite clearly.
Okay, sorry, I think the internet went off. I'm in the office.
Oh, okay. No worries, Debbie. I was just saying that I'll hand over to you to do the facilitation moving forward. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Are you wanting me to start now?
Yes, you can start, Debbie, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Debbie Martindale. I am the Principal Librarian for Digital Scholarship here at Rhodes University Library. Big title, but it really is just yeah, sorry, the internet went down again. So I have a presentation that I'd like to go through today, and I'll be speaking about Google Scholar, and I will also be speaking about ORCID, and then touching a little bit on Rhodes Digital Commons and reference management software. So I hope that you're going to find something here that you will be of use to you and assistance to you. And please, if there's any questions along the way, I'm very happy to engage with you then, or we can wait for Q&A afterwards. Okay, so scholarly communication is the core of what we do in the digital scholarship arena and here in the office. And it's defined as the system through which research and other scholarly writings are created, evaluated for quality, disseminated to the scholarly community, and preserved for future use. And basically that's taking all your research output, that's your thesis, your dissertations, any research articles that you may have written, and that will all have been done in what is normally considered to be the traditional way of doing things. But more and more technology is playing a huge role in how research practices are being engaged with these days. So that's why the system includes both formal means of communication, such as publications in peer-reviewed journals, and the informal channels. And we're going to look at some of the, some of both this afternoon. Okay, so the core of what we do in the digital scholarship unit is to do with researchers and your identities. And you'll probably have seen some of them already. Maybe Google Scholar, Researcher ID, if you've been working with Web of Science, Scopus, Author ID, if you have been using journals from Elsevier. And then the more informal ones, where we've got Figshare and Zenodo, Academia.edu, ResearchGate, Mendeley, and Zotero. And then also in that mix would be RefWorks. And we're not going to touch on all of these today, but this is just to give you a contextual visual of researcher and identities and the kind of things that you might be starting to, if you haven't already, start to think about. Okay. So the first thing I would like to do is, run a little poll. I'm just going to, can I just ask you, are my slides clear?
Hi, Debbie. They are not showing as yet.
They're not showing.
Unless
okay.
It's only on my side.
Okay, I think it's probably my side. But before we go onto the slides, I'm going to just run a little poll here. Get back into Zoom. And in the chat, if you can, it's just a little check to see where you are and how you use Google Scholar. Okay, I'm going to show the slides now. Okay, are you able to see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so Google Scholar, where you'll find it on the library webpage. So this is the main Rhodes Library webpage, and where you'll find it on our webpage is there under I want to on the library webpage. Okay, so when you click on access Google Scholar there, it will take you automatically to Google Scholar, and it is important for you to remember, if you're going to be using Google Scholar, to access Google Scholar through the library portal, and I'll show you the reasons for that in a moment. So this is just a search that we did, just simply COVID-19, and if you go search Google Scholar without going through the library portal, you might not have these links that you see here on the right-hand side, okay? And the reason why I'm pointing this out to you is that these articles are available to you via Google Scholar, and you can access the full text article simply because you've gone through the library portal. If you search Google Scholar without going through the library, you might not have access to the full text version. And that would be a great pity, because then you wouldn't be able to read it, and yet we have subscribed to it. Okay. Just looking at the page itself, Google Scholar, just in case some of you are not aware of the little intricacies. So this first article, there are 4 different versions of the article, and that means that it's published in 4 different platforms. So it could be on an Elsevier platform or a Web of Science platform, but it just means that you have better opportunities of being able to access that article in full text. The other thing that would guide you to whether an article is a good article or not is the cited by. So for instance, the second one has been cited by 152 in 152 articles. So if you wanted to see those articles, you would simply then click on cited on this link here, and it will take you to those 152 articles. So a very good indication that this is a journal that's an article that's been well read, and it could be included in one of your readings, obviously based on your topic and your search. Okay, and then just here on the side here, you'll see these sign-ins, and that's if you click on that and you signed in, you would then be taken through to the Rhodes University paper pile, which is a reference management tool that has been purchased by Rhodes University, and it works with Google Docs but it doesn't work with Word. So it is essentially Google based. But that's just a little plug there. And then at the bottom here, the arrow is pointing to import into BibTeX. So if this is an article that you would like to send to your reference manager, you can click on import to BibTeX, and you could it will go then to your Mendeley or your Zotero or your RefWorks. Okay, so the Google Scholar is very integrated with reference management software. There is another aspect to Google Scholar, and that is creating your own Google Scholar profile. So going back to the Google Scholar page, where it says there, My Profile, in order to create your profile, you would click on that, and you would, there are, I think, 5 questions that you would need to fill in. And once you have created your profile, you will then see this little pen and ink icon, and you can see that Prof. Sue McKenna has a Google Scholar profile. Her articles, you can see that her articles are listed below, but the bonus of having this profile now, and I'm going to open this up for you, is there is that is what a typical Google Scholar profile looks like. So at the top there, you'll see basic details that Prof is affiliated to Rhodes University, and she has an email address, and it's there. So if anybody would like to contact Prof, it can be done by going through on that homepage. And then you'll see here that her different areas of interests, keywords. There, where that arrow goes to 104. So this particular article, which was authored in 2016, has been cited in another 104 articles. So it might not be 104 authors, but certainly this article has been cited in 104 articles. And if you wanted to see those articles, you would simply click on that. It's a clickable link, and you would click on that link, and it will take you to those articles. And there, a good hint there is you would be able to see who is citing these articles, and could be possible collaborators, because you all have the same interest in research. Okay, then another important aspect about creating a Google Scholar profile is that all important H-index everybody has an opinion about an H index, but basically an H index here, this H index 19 simply means that of all the articles that Prof has written, 19 of them has been cited at least 19 times. So she might have written, there might be 100 odd articles, but 19 of them have been cited 19 times. And then the I-10 index is simply a similar index, but 35 articles of Prof's articles have been cited at least 10 times. So that gives you an indication of, first of all, that Prof's work is critical in her field, because an H index of 19 is quite a high index in humanities and social sciences. And you can then, have a look and see which are her popular articles. And again, you can also look for potential collaborators. Okay, so that is Google Scholar. And so there's a number of aspects to Google Scholar, and hopefully you will have seen some value in any of those aspects. So now we're going to talk a little bit about ORCID and what ORCID means. ORCID stands for Open Researcher and Contributor ID. So it's simply really an online researcher identity that once you've registered, it is your permanent online ID, and you can build up your ORCID as you would like to. And we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. But ORCID was started in 2003, and it uses social media technology. And I say this at the beginning of the chat about ORCID so that you can see how powerful the software is. If you can think about social media software and how that brings everything together, this is what ORCID also does. So it is designed to bring all your research into one portal, one identity. And at the beginning, I spoke about different identities. You could have a Google Scholar identity, you could have researcher identity, author, Scopus author identities, but Google's ORCID brings everything into one. Okay, so how does that work? So, looking at this first ORCID identity for Helen Cruz, she's a researcher here at Rhodes. She published her research under her maiden name, and then when she got married, she started publishing her research under her married name. And the challenge that came about, and this is why why ORCID was developed in the first place, is because of the different variations of names, and specifically for women authors, women researchers. Because, say, for instance, you are applying to, say, the NRF for funding, and you are only applying using one version of your name, and you haven't submitted an ORCID or anything with that application. The NRF will only assess your application with the name that you have given. So if you have work that has been published under different variations of your name, that research will be missed, and that critical assessment will be impacted on. So what ORCID does is, this ORCID number is a unique number, and it is unique to the researcher when you have registered. Okay. And I've got another example on the side here for Jane Snowball, another prof here at Rhodes. Believe it or not, this is how publishers have published her work using a small j, okay? And even that is picked up by ORCID and brought into your ORCID profile. So that's just explaining there. A little bit about your different variations of your names, and how ORCID brings that together using the technology behind it. And there's the link here. So for those of you who haven't registered your ORCID, you could register your ORCID here. It's very quick and easy to register. So please, if you you will be needing to submit an ORCID when you submit your thesis and dissertations. It is a requirement here at Rhodes. Okay, so to go on to the next page, this is Prof. McKenna's ORCID profile, and you will see that it's what we call it populated. So when you register for your ORCID, you will only get this little corner block, and that will be what's visible to the open public. Okay, you will have to build up your ORCID profile, and each of these facets. It is advised, it is highly recommended that you fill in and populate each of these facets as much as possible, and so that you got all your information on the one page, the one-stop shop, as it were, and you can hide any of these facets from public view if you're wanting to do that. Okay, so let's look at these different facets. The first one is biography. And you can put as much information into your biography as you want, or not. Everything is entirely up to you. This is your profile. Then these other facets here where you've got employment and your educational qualifications, invited positions and distinctions. So that's key if you've been invited as a keynote speaker. If you have any funding, it would be listed there. I'll come to words a little bit later. But you can already see that it is an online profile and CV that you are building. And at a quick glance, anybody who opens up your ORCID profile will see what you want them to see. Okay, so that's that part of the profile. You'll see here they're also known as. So in this instance, Prof. McKenna, the K is a capital K, but some of the publishers have published her work using the small k. And luckily, and this is why ORCID is so powerful, her work has all been brought together using those different variations of her name. And then if you look under websites and social links, these are links that you can insert yourself, and certainly we here at the library can assist you. But in Prof's instance, she's got the one link which goes to her CPGS, okay, and also the Strengthening Postgraduate Supervision portal as well. Then these are all clickable. So by clicking on any of these, you are taken to these different websites. You also then could be taken to Google Scholar, Rhodes Digital Commons. I'm going to speak about that a little bit later, but basically all Prof's research articles published here and generated here at Rhodes University is uploaded onto our Rhodes Digital Commons, the repository one. A lot of work goes into supervision, so her supervision work is also listed here. So that's another form of assessment. And then the more informal avenues are academia.edu and ResearchGate, and there are definitely pros and cons to using those, and there definitely is advisable to make use of those if you haven't already. Then we are trying to get South African research more visible, and this is part of one of my portfolios, is to make South African research, and especially that generated at Rhodes University, more visible to the global domain, so outside of Africa. And so that's why we encourage you to showcase that you come from South Africa, and if you come from other countries, you can list more than one. Then down here at the bottom, those are Scopus Author ID and Researcher ID. I have already mentioned them previously. So looking at the first one, Scopus Author ID, we can assist you with this, but use wizards to link your ORCID to Elsevier platform. And once that is done, you will automatically be assigned a Scopus author ID, which is linkable, and it takes, so you would just click on that, and it will take you or the reader to your research output on the Elsevier platform. Similarly, the researcher ID is for all the research that has been published on Web of Science. And again, once we have linked your ORCID to the Web of Science platform, you will be issued a researcher ID, and it's also linkable. Okay, so how do you get your works into your ORCID? Well, you would simply click on the works domain here, and you will be prompted to specify whether you're wanting if your work is a publication, in which case you would then have to select a journal or a book chapter or a conference paper, conference abstract, conference poster. Okay, there are other prompts for audiovisual material. So if you have videos as part of your research, this is where you can also upload your because more and more we're noticing that when theses come our way, there's a lot of audiovisual material, and this is where you can also upload your material. And again, remember, if you don't want it to be made public, you can hide that facet, but at least it's all there. Okay. And then just at the bottom, you'll see something there that's DOI. It stands for Digital Object Identifier. And any research that has been peer-reviewed and published in peer-reviewed journals will be assigned a DOI or a handle. It's all the same. It's the same sort of technology. But basically, this is the item identifier for your article. And by clicking on either the DOI or a handle, the reader is taken to your research on the publisher's platform. So what is important to remember here is that ORCID is definitely copyright compliant and follows copyright instructions very strictly. And you will see that when you start uploading works onto your ORCID profile. And I mention that because here, academia.edu and ResearchGate are not necessarily copyright compliant, and you as the author would have to practice that yourself and exercise that yourself with a lot of due diligence. And certainly here we can assist you with advice on how to go about that. Okay. So why is ORCID so important, and why are funders and publishers and everyone insisting that you have an ORCID? Okay, it might not have that much meaning for you at the moment because you might not have published too many articles at this stage of your career, but ORCID is about you, the researcher. It is very researcher-centric. So you as a researcher, you will, when you registered your ORCID, that is your ORCID number. When you publish an article, you have to submit that article submission with an ORCID. And once that article has been published, your employer, Rhodes University, the research office, will be notified. And at the same time, if your article has been funded by a funder, the NRF or Mellon or Carnegie, the funder will also be notified. So that this enter once, reuse often is as it is. You only enter your ORCID once, and everybody else who needs your ORCID will be notified accordingly. So that is in a nutshell how ORCID is just progressing from 2003, from being a technology that brought your research into one point. Now everybody can access your research, and you only need to have entered it once. So it's very powerful and very essential. Okay, not everybody likes to I call it humble brag about your research, and one of the very simplest ways of alerting people that to the fact that you have an ORCID and which will lead that person to your research is putting your ORCID in your email signature. And again, it's linkable. So here, it is so powerful. People who in my area of work, they see that I have an ORCID. They've gone into my ORCID profile and they've contacted me and said, Debs, don't you want to write an article in this area because we share the same interests? So do remember when you have your ORCID, to put it in your email signature. It is very powerful. Okay, right. Want to just speak about, our note today was essentially about Google Scholar and about ORCID, but I also think it's very important for you to be aware of Rhodes Digital Commons, and we've got 4 of them. I'm going to just speak about 3 today. So any thesis that has been submitted and the external examiners have come back and with positive news, and your thesis has been approved, and your qualification, the registrar's office notifies us here at the library about your work, and we then upload your thesis onto our thesis and dissertations portal. And if you would like to have a look at that portal, and it's a very every single thesis that has been generated at Rhodes is on that portal, and it's for masters and PhD theses. Also, a good idea, and if you haven't done so already, is have a look and see what other work has been submitted as a thesis by going onto this portal, and your faculty librarian will be able to assist you and show you how to narrow down the search. This is a software, and it's an open source software that we subscribe to showcase Rhodes University generated research, and in this instance, theses and dissertations. The other one that we subscribe to is the Rhodes Digital Commons repository. And an institutional repository is defined as a digital collection of the outputs created within a university or a research institution. So we, in the Digital Scholarship Unit, one of our core functions is to upload research articles, book chapters onto our Digital Commons, and all of it is done according to copyright. The Sherpa Romeo is one of the tools that we used to assess copyright compliancy. And if the article is available as an open access article, that you'll see there's an icon there. If the article is open access, we will then upload the article in full text. And if it's not open access, we then only upload the front first page of the article and provide links so that the reader can go and read the article via the publisher's platform. So it is copyright compliant. If we are allowed to upload articles, we are usually allowed to upload the preprint, and more these days we're allowed to upload the publisher's PDF. And for more information, we've got a LibGuide or a library guide to give you more information about the repository. And if you would like to go and see what is on the repository already, then you can click on this link here and it will take you there. So looking at these icons on the side here, Unpaywall and this View PDF, those are Chrome extensions. And if you upload them onto your laptop or your PC, what that will do for you is allow you to gain access to open access articles and in full text if the article is open access. Okay, so we at Rhodes, we subscribe to a particular amount of journals, and if you are here on the campus, you will be able to access those full text articles, because you will be identified as affiliated to Rhodes University. But when you're off campus and you haven't sorted out your off-campus logins, you would then not be able to access those articles because you won't be identified as being affiliated to Rhodes. Okay, so this is where Unpaywall and EndNote Click, this purple one here is EndNote Click. They will be able to trawl through the various different search engines, and if that article has been published open access somewhere else, because a lot of these a lot of movements or transitions are happening at the moment where some articles that have been hidden behind paywalls are now being made open access, and so Unpaywall and EndNote Click will trawl through these different engines and locate that article if it is available open access, and you'll be able to read the article in full text. So I can't stress enough how useful those two softwares are. I use them every day. And then the Creative Commons at the bottom here on the right side of the screen, that is a open access creative copyright icon, which says that this article is, if an article has Creative Commons attached to it, it's saying that the article is an open access article, and there are 6 different Creative Commons licenses, and you as the reader would be able to click on the license to see how you can reuse that article. So if you are wanting to publish open access in future, please remember about Creative Commons. But for now, you'll be able to see that an article is open access simply by seeing that icon. So we're all very useful softwares and tools there. Okay, the kinds of materials that we load into, we call them objects, that we load into our digital commons would be journal articles, conference papers, reports. There could be technical reports or any other reports, books and book chapters. Generally, those are all hidden, those on copyrighted, so we tend to only load the front page. And then there's audiovisual material as well, and you'll see that little open access icon at the bottom there. Right, the third digital commons is that for research data. So for any research project, you will be generating some form of data, whether it's focus groups. That's one kind of data. If it's scientific experimental data, so qualitative and quantitative data is all research data, and this is the university's portal for archiving and preserving your research data. Again, you can make it visible to the open public, or you can have it here on this is the Figshare platform, so you can have it here on the Figshare platform, but not where you have access to it, and not necessarily made open to the public, and that is again your choice of how you want to manage your research data. Okay, and then to access the digital commons, the research data one, there's a link there. You can go and have a look and see. We've got some really interesting videos there, and data sets. And it's not big data sets. It's smaller data sets, not like the SKA data sets. Okay. Then reference management tools. I'm not sure if you are using reference management tools or not, but if you're not, these are wonderful. So we subscribe to RefWorks and we teach RefWorks in our classes. I'm going to, and so the RefWorks is that one there. We also teach Zotero and Mendeley. The Zotero and Mendeley are open source reference management tools, whereas RefWorks is one that we subscribe to and on an annual basis. We don't subscribe to EndNote because it is a lot more expensive than RefWorks, but you do have access to a basic form of EndNote through the Web of Science platform. Some people here on campus have their own subscription, individual subscription, but you may have come across some others. I've noticed a lot of students use the Word one, and then there's the BibTeX, which a lot of students in the economics department use that. But these three are supported here at the library, and we certainly can assist you with those. And that comes to the end. And thank you for listening. And I'm open to any questions. Okay, Evelyn has asked here in the chat, I recently received a message asking me to upgrade my ORCID. Do I need to do it? Yeah, if you've received it from the library, it's because we are wanting you to populate your ORCID to help you populate your ORCID into a full online CV.
Thank you so much, Debbie, for that. I actually had not clicked to see what it meant. I've just gone in now while you are chatting, you are talking, and I've seen that there is some upgrade which was done automatically. So a review has been uploaded automatically. I don't know how, but it seems to show that a particular journal that I reviewed papers, it has been uploaded as part of my whatever. So I don't know who did it and how it happened. So,
okay. Yeah. So your work, that's the bonus of having an ORCID, is once you have created those links to Researcher ID, it auto updates. Your work will be auto updated into your ORCID works. The idea being, sorry.
No, just go on.
I was going to say, it's the idea is to try and take a lot of admin work away from researchers.
Oh, that's really appreciated. Yeah, just one more question. You talked about that site on where you can put your own data. How long can one have the data held in that portal?
Once it's uploaded, are you talking about research data?
Yes, research data. How long can you have the data there?
It's forever.
Oh, okay, thanks.
It's for preservation.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Then I hope I say your name right, but Nico, you've asked a question. How do I register on ORCID? So I'm going to stop the screen and go into onto an ORCID page for you, and then I'll show you. Okay. I just want to share another screen. Okay. sorry, the system is a little bit on the slow side. I am sorry for the delay, but I just want to show you where you can sign up for your ORCID.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Just want to go back to share the screen now. Okay, can you see that ORCID screen?
Yes.
Okay, so to register for your ORCID, you would, to get onto ORCID, you just type in orchid.org at the top there, or you can just type in ORCID and you will get there. Then to register for your ORCID, you just click on where it says sign in and register, and then there's literally 3 questions that you will be asked. The system is very, very slow today. Okay, so but that's basically where you'll sign in for your ORCID. And here you to register your ORCID, you would just click there where it says register now, and it basically asks you your name, your email address, and a password, and then you're registered. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, pleasure. And then Silangeni, you've asked, do you have to be registered to all different platforms, or should the ORCID be sufficient? ORCID is definitely sufficient. And the only other one I would strongly recommend is the Google Scholar citations, because once you've registered and populated your ORCID and you've brought your Google Scholar into your ORCID, your profile, everything that anybody would need to know will be in that one profile. So that's a really good question. Okay, here's some thank yous here, and there's some useful tips. Is it possible to tell us how to access the data? I'm not sure, Sophia, are you wanting to know where to access the research data webpage? Is that what you're asking? Okay, so if you go to the library webpage, I'm just going to open it up here, and I'll show you where you can where you can access these. Gosh. Okay, so on the library webpage, this is where you'd access Google Scholar, okay? And then if you scroll down to where it says quick links, you'll see the quick, and under quick links to, quick links to, you'll see the RU theses and dissertations. That's the dissertations one. Then this is the repository, which is for your journal articles. And then where it says Rhodes Digital Commons research data, that will take you to the Figshare research data platform. Okay. Does that is that what you were wanting to know, Sophia? Okay. Okay, great, excellent. And you can see that we only started loading objects onto the Figshare beginning of towards the end of 2020, and you can already see how many times our articles and objects have been downloaded and viewed. So it's very powerful. And just to show you some of the groups. So this is a data set. This is a video. This is a map, and you can see some other data sets here too, figures and so on. This is a media, so this is a video too. And this particular one is a video for a thesis that was submitted in April this year. Yeah. So these are good questions. Thank you. Any more questions? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. And please, we are here to help. A lot of this can be a bit overwhelming, and I have, drawn your attention to some big issues here, and we are really very, very happy to help you. And my office is in the Research Commons, which is on level 2 in the library. And then we also have Nandi Fumbata, and her office, she's the Scholarly Communications Librarian, and her office is in the Postgraduate Commons on level 0 at the library. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Same to you, Debbie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you,
Debbie.
Debbie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.